Hi, I'm Neena from Agnisys. I would like to welcome Paritosh Kulkarni from Yellowbrick Systems, a user of our iDesign Spec product for several years. I would also like to welcome EDA industry expert Tom Anderson, who will talk with Paritosh about his experience working with Agnisys. Over to you, Tom.
Thank you, Nita, and Paratosh, thank you very much for joining me today. Perhaps we could start if you could tell us a little bit about your role at Yellowbrick and the sort of challenges that you are facing that caused you to initially take a look at the Agnisys solutions.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Nina, for having me. My name is Paritosh Kulkarni. I'm the lead silicon and FPGA architect at Yellowbrick Data. So a quick background on Yellowbrick Data. We are in the business of building a data warehouse. And my team basically does some of the silicon acceleration for analytics for the data warehouse. We are a lean startup, so what that means is we need to focus our time primarily on areas where we add value. And one area that we wanted to automate and use sort of best of breed technologies like Agnisys was in the areas of register definition that we use all across our chips. We needed a tool that would allow us to provide a single specification to our globally distributed engineering team in the areas of hardware, systems, software, and firmware. And Agnisys was a tool that we came across early in our time at Yellowbrick, where we were investigating and defining our tool flow. We did a quick eval of Agnisys, and that checked out really well. We were able to, in 15 days, we were able to put together an eval where we generated all the registers that we could think of. We verified that it could generate all the outputs that we needed. The outputs could be customized. And our firmware and software engineers felt comfortable with the outputs it produced.
And so this has been about 4 years, you said, since that time. I know it's been 4 years, but if you think back to your experience prior to having access to iDesign Spec, how would you say your process has improved? Could you characterize or quantify the savings in time and effort, perhaps, as the result of this more automated approach?
Absolutely. In my prior life, when we sort of did the time-tested way of just using RTL to code registers, a big problem there was that registers would change every so often. The RTL engineer would update registers and sometimes forget to update the specifications for firmware engineers or verification engineers or software engineers. And that would lead to many days of us trying to debug issues in silicon and trying to find what was different. And with Agnisys, you have a single flow, a single automated flow where you specify your specification in a Word format. You push a button, you get all the other consistent outputs that you can distribute to everybody. And I would say, I mean, I can't put a number on it, but I would say it has saved us, literally saved us many days and months over the past 4 years in not having to sort of debug any issue related to registers.
So this automated flow is saving you, obviously, effort. You're not hand coding, but it's also, you've made, I think, 2 important points there. One is that you're saving that repeatedly through the project as your specification changes, as your register definitions change. And that's, I think, interesting point of the automated flow. And you're also making the point, I think, that you're going to get a more accurate result. I think when people go to higher levels of abstraction and they're coding at a higher level, they presume they're going to introduce fewer errors into the design. Would you say that's accurate in your case as well?
Absolutely accurate.
Okay, that's great to hear. Now, if you look at going forward, what new challenges do you anticipate you might face, and where else maybe could Agnisys help you to address some of your future needs?
And one perennial challenge in chip design, especially for a startup, always is that you're under constant pressure to deliver new features on a rigid timeline, and you don't want to sacrifice quality of the product you ship out. So, given that you have a very lean team, how do you optimize that, and how do you ensure that with the limited amount of time and resources that you have, how do you put forth a quality product? Verification is one area where a majority of the time of a project is spent. So that is sort of an area that's ripe for optimization in terms of using best of breed tools. And like Agnisys iDesign Spec was for registers, we would look to investigating newer technologies in the verification and validation front, and seeing if we can cut down some portions of our flow and speed up some portions of our flow using sort of tools that have already been developed and validated.
How has your experience been overall working with the folks at Agnisys?
Mine and my team's experience with Agnisys has been phenomenal. When we first started looking at the tool flow about 4 years ago, we spent probably just about 15 days doing the eval for registers with Agnisys, and everything that we expected to see from the tool checked out. Over the course of those 4 years, when we've designed 2 chips now, we've maybe only had 2 support calls with Agnisys related to sort of upgrading to a new version and some such thing that was very minor. And in both of those cases, Agnisys responded very rapidly. And I would say over the 25 plus years of my career and using various EDA tools, this has been as good an eval as any.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. I think that wraps up the questions that I have. Perhaps we'll have a chance to talk again in the future about your experiences with additional products and additional interactions with Agnisys. I'm really glad to hear that it's going so well. Paritosh, thank you very much, and back to you, Nina.
Thanks so much, Tom and Nina.
Thank you, Tom and Paritosh, for taking out time to talk on iDesign Spec experience. Talk to you next time. Thank you.